Let's take a look at Ambisonics inside of Concert Grand. So I've got Concert Grand LE running off a solid state drive. This is a Mac Pro. Solid state drive is just working through eSATA onto Thunderbolt. It maxes out under 300 megabytes per second. Still pretty cool that it's working out well. I'm going to take all the mixers, bring them down, and I'm going to open up just the Ambisonics channel. So the Ambisonics, if we were to give you a quick explanation, is a four capsule microphone that records in what's called WXYZ format, and it allows for the decoding of the file. So with the decoding of the files, what you can do is create virtual microphones and point them wherever you want. So let's just start with some sort of chord here. And then there are presets within the Ambisonics itself. So let's go through the presets. That's the half wide. I'm going to go with XY. So this is your traditional microphone setup that... Okay, just doing simple chords for you today, nothing sophisticated. And then as we widen it, and this is just adding the width down below, this width setting down here. You can see that that clip was my clipping out over here on the actual Kontakt itself. It wasn't the samples. So this is a picture of the piano, a bad picture icon of the piano. It's not meant to be realistic, but it shows you where the microphone was placed relative to the piano and where you can point these. So if we go through the rest of these presets, there's the emblem line, which is the figure of 8. And then as I take these, I can probably point them, you can hear, to the rear, and now facing more the rear. But I'm going to switch the pattern in real time to be cardioid. There we go, maybe even supercard halfway in between. And then I can angle them out facing the room. And let's point them at the piano. Trying to play and do the demo at the same time, not a wise thing to do. And this will give us a mono signal when they're both at 0. But as we spread them out, you'll hear the stereo effect. Then we can add some width to the sound. So then if I just try and do it while I move the mics around here, you can hear this is the room. Back to the front. You can spin it around and get that room sound. Whatever, right? And then I can move it. It's pretty flexible in its ability to do the different tones. All the presets will come back as soon as you click on them, right? So there's the wide emblem line. And then let's see if I can get the ORTF wide. This naturally wouldn't be that wide. It'd be more like this for the piano, right? And then you can move it to the room if you'd like. So essentially this control down here is controlling where the microphone is facing, where it's pointing on the piano, and you can see in the graph up top. So if I give it some width, you'll be able to see this is a HyperCard microphone that's being virtualized, and then it's rotating as it's being pointed somewhere. So then this is the opposite. So it's emphasizing more of the low strings where you're pointing at. Now at any point in time I could turn off one of these microphone perspectives. So then let's just pull one down. I'll turn the link off and then Now I'm just getting the one hypercard. I can pan it towards the middle. So there's the panning. I think if I option click and command click, it'll go back to the beginning, the center position. And then you can point this anywhere at the piano. I'm going to do a little more hypercard on it. There we go. And point it. At the room, and then let's see. Oh, I have to turn the width off. There we go. And let's try and point that back at the piano. There you go. And then I'll turn on the other microphone again. We'll link them for volumes. And let's separate the panning, and then so it's giving some great flexibility. I want to make this more of the left channel, and this is more of the right based on where it's pointing, right? So, but the fun part is I've created some experimental presets in here as well. So then let's see, XY hypercard. This isn't exactly that experimental, but you can hear that it's got lots of room in it. Still has some forward presence in the piano, but it's definitely more of a roomier sound. The cool part about the Ambisonics when you're using this is that you're getting the sound of rooms plus closer microphones, not fully inside the piano, with only a couple of microphone perspectives, the equivalent of just a couple being on. So a little bit, it's still resource intensive, but it gives you a different sound for sure. And let's go. I did this pseudo MS. Pseudo meaning almost, and MS being mid-side configuration, where I created a bi-directional microphone and then on the other one created a cardioid in the front and then just pan them off. Not exactly a true MS, but it gives you something interesting. Here's the half-wide version of that. A fully wide one coming up here. There you go. You can hear that full sustain and tone. I'm going to go into the next one, which is Creation 1. So then here I just was creating stuff that shouldn't be your typical stereo piano type sound. But it definitely has a different kind of feel to it. And then I can switch to the next preset. This is the next creation. This is two cards that are facing in towards one another or facing opposite directions. It's kind of not facing the piano, but facing outward. Okay. Card mono. Very simple, right? This is... and lots of room sound, but basically facing forward on that microphone perspective. And then this is oops, I wanted to go to the next one. Omni. So Omni is this is a great way to create a mono room sound with a little bit of piano presence in the front. This might work in an arrangement where you have other instruments in the mix and you're just looking for the piano to have a full round sound without it being extremely pan left and right. So if I was to have both of these turned on, for example, I'll bring up the second one, notice it's not really adding to the sound that much, even if you pan them out. Because they're omni, they're not really doing much, right? You have to turn this into a different type of pattern. And spread them out with their relationship, right? I should link these actually. Let's see what happens if I go back to omni. I think I'll lose everything. That quickly shifts back to mono because it's the same pattern that it's picking up in all directions. But if I move it a little bit, you get some interesting sounds happening there. Anyways, moving on. Room. This was a room sound where we're facing two almost card mics in the opposite direction of the piano, so you're picking up the room. Not your typical way of miking a piano, but as you can hear, it's got lots of tonal. It's like ambience without it sounding fake, right? Because it's not fake, it's the actual room. And you're hearing this coming back from the 16-bit samples. The 24-bit samples sound as good or exceptionally better at 96K. All I can play is this ambient piano mood music, apparently. So what are we at? Room, we're at room. Room mono is just the same thing with just one, right? Right, no problem. Room XY. Similar to the other room, but just without some width on it. And then if we go wide on that, and go even wider. And then let's try the hyper. I actually don't mind this mic perspective because it's not overly wide, but if I give it some width, which is probably the next preset, see how quiet I can play this. Okay, and moving on, yeah, let's see hypercard wide. I guess I didn't make this as wide as what I was playing earlier. I don't know how familiar you are with the room sounds and other sample libraries, but I would have to say that this is perhaps one of the most natural sounding. It gives you the real sense. Let's compare this actually. That's the Ambisonics. I'm going to pull this out and give you what the 414 sounds like. This isn't giving you a true room. It's kind of a smooth blend between actual piano tone, but it still has the direct sound going into it. The beautiful thing about the Ambisonics, if I was to switch back to it, is that the Ambisonics removes that direct sound, so then you're just hearing the piano in the room. And if I compare that, I'm going to go to the mixer page for a second and just we'll mute that while we bring up the other room, just so you can. Right, so then if we mute and compare, of course best on headphones. Might as well bring up the other room, which is the ribbon microphone, and we'll just mute the others here. And this is closer to the piano. This one's more room. Condenser mic on that one, and then this is the Ambisonics, which feels further away because we're not having that direct sound, right? But if I wanted to create a new preset right now, this would be my room sound, and I'm worried that my computer won't be able to handle 3 microphone perspectives at a time, but there it is. A little bit louder for you so you can hear it without the pedal. But with the pedal, you're going to get that sustain. So it's nice to be able to make these combinations and actually balance them how you want as well. So that's the Ambisonics and just kind of a walkthrough of what's capable. One other thing that we have here is that you can also output your Ambisonics somewhere else. So this output can go through your DAW, and it gives you that Z channel, which is height. With the height, then you can choose what, not just pointing at the piano, but pointing either up or down at the piano. Right now, it's just a straight plane that we were able to emulate with Kontakt.